now, stay tuned for the mystery program that is unique among all mystery programs. Because even when you know who is guilty, you always receive a startling surprise at the final curtain. In the Signal Oil program, The Whistler. Signal, the famous Go Farther gasoline, invites you to sit back and enjoy another strange story by The Whistler.
I am The Whistler, and I know many things, for I walk by night. I know many strange tales hidden in the hearts of men and women who have stepped into the shadows. Yes, I know the nameless terrors of which they dare not speak.
And now for the Signal Oil Company, The Whistler's strange story, Autumn Song.
Sidney Shelton stared dully at the happy groups on the platform outside his compartment window. In a few minutes, many of them would be boarding the cross-country streamliner, just as he had. For most of them, it was destination New York for business or pleasure. For Sidney, it was destination New York, perhaps for oblivion. No one was there to see him off, wish him well, and tell him to hurry back to Los Angeles. Carlson at Mammoth Studios had handed him a one-way ticket to New York and told him never to come back to Hollywood. As the streamliner eased effortlessly underway, Sidney managed a sardonic smile. He was on his way out in the grand manner of Hollywood.
Well, Sheila, what are you...
You didn't really think I'd let you get away from me, did you, Sid?
Well, I've got to go east. Just a quick trip for business, you know.
Really?
Yes, you see, I've got to...
Thanks, I will sit down. I've got a feeling the story's going to be good.
Now, listen to me, Sheila.
Why, Sid? I've listened to you for a long time. I don't like where it's got me. That career you promised me. What a publicity agent you turned out to be.
Great. I'm glad you feel that way. Because I'm sick and tired of trying to palm off a no-talent doll like you as an actress.
Look who's talking no talent. You've been tossed out of Hollywood. Here's a one-way ticket to New York. Take it and never come back. Unquote Carlson. Every studio in town had your number, and it's zero.
And you know why? Because you fouled up every publicity stunt I've handled the past year. Whether it had anything to do with you or not, you always did a walk-on at the wrong time. And now if you're smart, you'll pull a walk-off this time. Right off at this train at the first stop.
I'm not getting off, Sidney. I'm going to ride all the way. Chicago, New York. And even then, I'm still not getting off.
What are you talking about?
I'm talking about us. Neither of us can go back, Sid. You to the studios, and me to the husband I left for you.
I didn't tell you to leave him.
Not in so many words. Skip it. That part's my worry.
It's all your worry. Now go on, beat it, Sheila. I've got my own troubles.
I know. I'm one of them. Your biggest, I expect.
I told you to beat it, to run along.
All right, Sidney. That's the way you want it. If you feel differently later on, I'm in car 179.
I can't hear you.
And like I said, I'm not getting off. Nighty-night, Sidney.
You watch her go, feel the cold rage mount within you. You try to tell yourself that Sheila's the real cause of all your troubles. But deep down, you know that's not true. Sheila's a problem, yes. You wish you'd never met her, made all those promises about her career. Now she's like a millstone around your neck. You'd like to strangle her, wouldn't you, Sidney? But after a while, you decide to try to forget about her, put her out of your mind. You go to the diner, order your dinner, and lean back slightly. React as you recognize the voice of the man sitting back to back with you. An important film executive, Sidney. E.J. Payton, imparting some very interesting information to his dinner partner.
Yes, I suppose this craze for older stars started when Peenza made such a smash in South Pacific.
Peenza did a lot for the so-called older star, all right. This chap Norman Hale you're going to sign in New York. I remember him. I remember I was a boy the first time I saw him.
Oh, yes. Name of Norman Hale was the box office word.
I'd prefer you didn't mention it around on the train. I mean that my studio is after it.
Of course.
Hale doesn't know it himself, but he's just right for us. This picture Autumn song that we're going to make, you see.
Oh, yes. It's about a star from the old silent era, isn't it?
Right. Hey, this steak is good.
You almost can't wait to finish your dinner, can you, Sidney? But you realize that you might as well. Yes, because the streamliner won't stop anywhere that'll fit your plans before Albuquerque. Meanwhile, you've other things to attend to.
Porter, can you help me a moment?
Yes, sir. You looking for somebody?
Oh, yes, Porter. This is car 179?
Yes, sir.
A friend of mine, Miss Sheila Martin.
Oh, Miss Martin, that's room B, sir.
Oh, well, thank you, Porter.
Well, but I think the lady is in the club car.
Well, it's all right. I'll find her later.
I'll go see.
No. Never mind.
You start out of the car, turn in time to see the porter disappear into another room to make up the beds. You move swiftly down the aisle to Sheila's roomette. Inside, you find what you want in a matter of seconds. In her overnight bag, wrapped in a nightgown. The roll of bills that you were certain she wouldn't carry in her purse. You take most of the bills out, wrap the few remaining ones around a roll of cleansing tissue you find in her bag so she won't discover the loss immediately. Then you hurry back to your own car.
Yes, sir? I'd like accommodations to New York. First plane out, please.
I have space on Flight 23. Leaves here in 2 hours.
That'll get me in New York ahead of the streamliner?
Oh, yes, sir. You'll be there in 12 hours.
12 hours? Oh, good. I'll take that space. One way to New York.
Stop it. Stop engine wear that can cut down your car's pep and power. Cut down your gasoline mileage. Stop it. Stop engine wear that can make your car become an oil eater, make it need an expensive overhaul. How can you stop engine wear? Why, simply by changing oil. Changing to amazing new Signal Premium Motor Oil that reduces engine wear due to lubrication 50%. Through newly perfected scientific developments, wonderful extra protection has been engineered into new Signal Premium. 1, it stops acid corrosion and rust. 2, controls and reduces harmful engine deposits. 3, keeps oil rings clean and free. 4, keeps hydraulic valve lifters from sticking. Yet there has been no increase in price for this superior quality, heavy-duty type oil at Signal service stations. So why not join the ever-increasing number of motorists who are keeping car expenses down and performance up by changing to new Signal Premium, the amazing new Signal motor oil that reduces engine wear due to lubrication 50%.
It's a windfall, isn't it, Sidney? The chance knowledge you picked up on the train. Yes, as you step from your plane in New York, you're many hours ahead of the train you left at Albuquerque, carrying E.J. Payton, the motion picture producer, who is on his way to search the city for Norman Hale, the one-time silent picture star. With luck, you can find Norman Hale first. That's why you no sooner check into a hotel than you begin the weary rounds of second-rate theatrical agencies. At one, you finally get a lead. Make your way out to an astonishingly good address. You wonder as you press the buzzer if perhaps they weren't all wrong about Norman Hale, that he might have saved some of his early fabulous earnings. As you stand there waiting, you pray that he didn't. Hope that he's in a bad financial position.
Yes?
I'm looking for Mr. Hale. Norman Hale, the actor?
Have you an appointment?
Well, no. You see,
The nature of your business, please.
Well, frankly, I represent some motion picture interests who would like to contact Mr. Hale.
Motion picture interests? My dear fellow, I don't believe Mr. Hale would be interested. You see, he wouldn't want to leave New York. The excitement, the glamour of the city, the close proximity to the theaters.
Mr. Hale.
What?
I might have known. And posing as the butler. You were always pulling something like that. Please, Mr. Hale, may I come in? The name is Shelton. Sidney Shelton.
Why, all right, Mr. Shelton. Enter.
Thank you, sir. Well, this is a beautiful place you have here.
Thank you. Won't you sit down?
Thank you, sir.
Have you a contract, Mr. Shelton? Are you actually prepared to make a business proposition?
Well, no, sir, not exactly. You see, I have an idea, a possibility for both of us.
Ha! Possibility. For making a picture with a has-been, an old man, a profile from the past.
Exactly, sir. And if you weren't so well off here, you might consider that there are still fans everywhere who remember you and love you.
Careful. Young man, I am not well off. This aristocratic establishment, it isn't even mine. How do you like that?
But I don't understand.
Alas, Norman Hale must now be grateful to be a caretaker of another man's house.
A caretaker? You?
Yes, the owner's in Europe. I'm a fortunate man. I could be huddling in a tenement somewhere.
Well, you'll never have to worry about that again, Mr. Hale, if you just listen to me. I found a great part for you. I read a book, Mr. Hale, Autumn Song.
And that was a play, wasn't it?
Well, that's what I meant to say, a play. I'm sorry. See, I'm excited now. Oh, Mr. Hale, you should play that part.
Oh, yes. Oliver. Oliver Wentworth.
Oliver Wentworth. Oh, Norman, you are Oliver Wentworth. And I can get you that part. I know it. Will you believe in me? Will you give me the chance to make you believe in yourself?
You're a persuasive man, Shelton.
Here.
But,
Here, I brought a contract. I'll just sign there, Mr. Hale, making me your personal manager.
An hour later, you're on your way back to your hotel, Sidney. Only a brief stop at the theatrical agency which gave you the lead to Norman Hale. $5 in the hand of a man you talk to assures the fact that motion picture producer E.J. Payton will now be directed to you instead of to Norman Hale himself. It's late afternoon of the following day, and you're sitting in your apartment when you receive a phone call. It's the call you've been expecting, isn't it, Sidney? Yes, from E.J. Payton, the Hollywood film executive.
Yes, sir, that's right. I'm representing Norman Hale.
Well, then we can talk. I have a little something in mind for him.
Well, I don't know. Norman's sold on the idea of doing a play.
Well, for his own sake, then talk him out of it. Now, let's speak frankly, Mr. Shelton. Your Norman Hale is passé, a ghost of the silence. People just aren't interested in him anymore.
You are, Mr. Payton?
Yes, in a way. Look, Mr. Shelton, I don't like to discuss business over the telephone. When can we get together?
Well, let me see. What do you say about lunch tomorrow? Victor's on 45th?
Good. And have Norman Hale there, too.
Well, I'll see if I can arrange it. I can't promise, though.
You're pleased, aren't you, Sidney? And your only concern now is how to get the biggest price you can for Norman Hale's services. It won't be easy, will it, when you're dealing with a man like Payton, and you wish you had something more to sell than just Norman Hale himself. You decide a publicity stunt would do it, Sidney. Something big. And Payton's studio would be eager to cash in on it. You spend the rest of the day thinking about this. Finally, that evening, the answer comes to you, most unexpectedly.
Hello, Sid.
Sheila. Oh, well, Sheila, look, I'm sorry about...
The money you stole on the train? No, you're not. I knew it was you right away. But I'll get it back. And more.
Of course you will, baby, of course. I was going to get in touch with you, but I've been busy all day. A new client.
I know. I traced you down through the theatrical agency.
Oh, really? Well,
Will there be anything in this new deal for little Sheila? You know better be.
Oh, naturally. Oh, I haven't forgotten you, Sheila. And it's going to be big, baby. Yes, sir, a nice big fat publicity stunt for Norman Hale. He's my new client. And I'm working out something for you, too, Sheila.
Like what? An overdose of sleeping pills? Get engaged to Norman Hale? Maybe both?
Wait a minute. You think that's funny?
What is it this time, Sidney?
Oh, baby. Oh, baby. You and Norman Hale.
That's what I was afraid of. But give me the details anyway.
Can't we eat, Sidney? I'm famished.
Well, let's wait for Peyton, huh, Norman?
Oh, he's late. It's 1:15 now.
I know, Norman, I know.
Are you sure you said Victor's restaurant?
Yes, of course I said Victor's, and Peyton will be here.
You don't suppose he's changed his mind?
Oh, relax, Norman, will you, please?
Very well. I'll have another martini.
You've had 4 already.
Norman! Norman Hale!
I beg your pardon, miss.
Norman, I'd recognize you anywhere.
Have we met, my dear?
Met? Oh, no. No, but I've dreamed of meeting you ever since I was a little girl. Oh, how I've dreamed of this moment.
Really? Well.
From that very first time I saw you.
What picture was that, my dear?
I worshiped you then. I still do. Norman. Oh, Norman.
Oh, miss, please, just a moment.
Stay out of this, old man. I'll handle it.
Oh, to think I finally found
Miss,
you.
please.
No, let me go. Let me go. Norman. Don't let them take me away.
Waiter.
Please,
Waiter.
Norman, please.
You struggle to keep a straight face, don't you, Sidney, as Sheila clings desperately to Norman, pouring out her adoration for him. And during the confusion of the next few moments, you notice Peyton standing at the door, watching it all. Then finally, when Sheila is led away, sobbing bitterly, Peyton comes over to your table.
Well, that was something, wasn't it?
Oh, Mr. Peyton, you saw what happened?
Yes, I saw.
Norman, this is Mr. Peyton. Norman?
What? Oh, how do you do, sir? That poor girl, so madly in love with me.
Here, sit down here, Mr. Peyton.
In love with me all these years. Did you hear her sob, Sidney? Did you?
Yes, sure. She's really crazy about you, Norman.
Yes, I'd say that was quite a performance. Quite a performance.
Performance?
For my benefit, eh, Mr. Shelton?
You think this whole thing was staged?
Wasn't it?
How dare you suggest such a thing? Anyone can plainly see that girl is desperately in love with me. And why not? Why shouldn't she be?
Norm, please.
A good day, Mr. Peyton. Good day.
Norman, wait a minute.
Let him go, Mr. Shelton. We have things to talk about.
No, he's pretty sore. I'll have to see if I can cool him down.
But you
Make it at Norman's place in an hour. 467 Kenton Place.
I'm sorry, Sidney. I shouldn't have lost my temper that way.
Okay, let's forget it.
Tell me something. That affair, it really wasn't staged, was it?
Oh, Norman, of course not.
I didn't think so. I could see it was real. I saw it in her eyes, Sidney. I'm not easily fooled, you know. She was rather an attractive girl, wasn't she?
A real doll.
Just couldn't help it, I suppose. Falling in love with me, I mean. Have I ever told you about the Countess Delgado? Have I?
No. Let's save it for some other time, will you please? Peyton's waiting for us in the study.
Oh, yes. Very well, my boy.
Well, I'm sorry to keep you waiting, Mr. Peyton.
That's quite all right. I was just admiring your paintings, Mr. Hale.
Oh, nothing much, really. Picked them up here and there during my travels. This one, for example, I turned up in London while I was on a personal appearance tour. The English loved me, you know. Fine people, the English. I remember so
Shall
well...
we sit down, gentlemen?
I remember so... Oh, get that like a good chap, will you, Sidney?
Certainly. Hello?
How was I, Sid?
Who? Speak up, I can't hear you.
Are they there?
Yes.
Okay, go into your act. I'll see you later.
Who is it, Sidney?
I think it's that girl again, the one in the restaurant.
Oh, really?
Hello? Yes? What? Oh, no, wait a minute.
What's wrong?
She says she's calling from her hotel. Says if you don't see her, she'll jump off the roof. What? Hello? Where are you? Where? What? I can't understand. Stop crying,
Here,
please.
give me that phone.
She hung up.
We must do something.
I think she said she was at the Grayville or the Braveville.
Grayville, not far from here.
Mr. Peyton, call the police. Tell them to get over to the girls' hotel right away. Come on, Norman. Come on. We're too late, Norman. There she is up there.
Where?
On the ledge, the fourth floor.
Good Lord. What did you say her name is?
Sheila.
Sheila! Don't jump! Don't do it!
And
Stand back, please. Everybody stand back. Give room to the police and the ambulance. Clear that sidewalk over there. You hear it? Clear it.
What are we going to do? If only I could talk.
Wait a minute,
to her.
Norman. Wait a minute. Did you hear that?
Stand back.
That policeman talking on the public address system.
Yes,
Those people back over there at that
of
corner.
course, that's it.
Come on. Are you ready, Norm?
Ready.
All right. Here's the microphone, Romeo. Now, there's your Juliet, up there on the ledge. Now, come on. Start talking and make it good.
Sheila! This is Norman. This is Norman Hale. Listen to me, darling. Listen to me, please.
You stand back in the crowd. Look at the faces around you as Norman Hale begins to play the scene in his most dramatic fashion. And the crowd loves it. You're certain of that, aren't you, Sidney? And you know that close by, Peyton is watching, listening. Then finally the exciting climax as Sheila steps off the ledge and goes back into her hotel room. Peyton is very impressed.
When can we talk, Mr. Shelton?
In the morning, Mr. Peyton, over coffee and the headlines.
All right. I must say you handled the situation magnificently, Mr. Hale.
Oh, thank you. I wasn't the least bit worried, you know. I was certain I could talk her out of her madness.
Sure. You can't help it, can you, Norman? I mean, because you're so attractive to women.
You're so right, old boy.
That evening, back in your apartment, you're pleased with the way everything has turned out, aren't you, Sidney? Yes, and you congratulate yourself. You've put it over. Peyton will have to come to your terms now, if he wants to capitalize on the publicity. Sign a long-term contract with Norman Hale. Then shortly before midnight, you have a visitor. Sheila.
What do you mean, now what?
What's the next move? That stunt this afternoon went over big for little Sheila, but we're not going to leave it at that, are we?
Look, sweetheart, look. You got yourself $1 million worth of publicity. I set it up for you free of charge. You take it from there.
But I thought you were...
I'm going to be very busy from now on, baby. Norman and I will probably be leaving for the coast in a few days.
Norman. Sure. The stunt was all for him, wasn't it? He was the star. I was just an extra.
You didn't do badly.
No, that's right. I didn't. And suddenly I've just gotten an idea how I can do better.
What do you mean?
You had me write a suicide note, remember? To make it all look authentic when I was going to jump from the hotel.
Yeah, I remember.
Well, I've still got that suicide note right here in my purse. I wonder what the reporters will do to your story when I tell them this whole thing was a fake.
Now, wait a minute, Sheila.
I have just enough time to catch the morning papers before they go to press. Bright idea of yours, that suicide note.
Yes.
Wasn't it? Thanks for reminding me, baby.
Let me go.
Oh, sure. I'll let you go. Only when I do, it'll be out the window.
Oh.
Because you are going to jump. And your suicide note will prove that you jumped.
Try Signal Ethel. Try Signal Ethel. Try Signal Ethel. Sometimes I think try Signal Ethel is the most important thing I can say to you drivers. Because once you try the premium grade of Signal's famous Go Farther gasoline in your own car, I won't need to say anything else. Yes, once you see for yourself how smoothly, quietly Signal Ethyl floats you over hills, steep hills, in high, I won't need to say anything more about the super power in this great super fuel. Once you see how effortlessly it makes the miles of highway flash by, I won't need to tell you anything more about Signal Ethyl's obedient smoothness. And once you see how swiftly it rockets your car ahead when the traffic signal says go, you'll know why we say Signal Ethyl is engineered to bring out the best in any car of any age. Yes, all of these things and many more you'll learn about driving pleasure when you drive out of a Signal station with your first tankful of Signal Ethyl. That's why I'm so eager for you to just try Signal Ethyl. Try Signal Ethyl. Try Signal Ethyl.
It was the only way, wasn't it, Sidney? You had to kill Sheila to prevent her from exposing you and the publicity stunt you staged for the benefit of your client, the former matinee idol Norman Hale. And so you pushed her out the window of your apartment. And now a crowd has gathered in the streets below. And you hurry downstairs. The story you'll tell is very clear in your mind. Then, when the police arrive...
You say this girl jumped from your apartment, Mr. Shelton?
Yes, that's right, officer. It happened so quickly I was unable to stop her. Oh, the poor girl. She did it because of Norman Hale. You've heard of him, the actor?
Yeah. Hey, wait a minute. Is this the same girl who tried to commit suicide this afternoon?
Yes, that's right. She burst into my apartment about 20 minutes ago. Demanded to see Norman. I tried to stall her, but she showed me a suicide note she'd written, and then she jammed it in her purse. Before I could stop her, she ran to the window. Oh, well, you know the rest.
Yeah. Wait a minute. Is this the note?
Yes, it is.
Well, looks like you're right, mister.
Pardon me, officer.
Yeah?
This guy's story doesn't hold up.
What? See here, what do you mean?
Well, I was standing across the street when this happened. I saw it all. This girl didn't jump. She was pushed. And this guy pushed her.
That's ridiculous.
Now, hold on, Mr. Shelton.
I saw him do it.
Yeah, who are you?
I'm Jim Fergus, private investigator. And after this girl apparently tried to commit suicide this afternoon, Norman Hale was so worried about her, he hired me to keep an eye on her.
Norman Hale hired you?
Yeah. Mr. Hale said the girl was nuts about him. Crazy in love with him.
Let that whistle be your signal for the Signal Oil program, The Whistler, each Sunday night at the same time. Since this week is National Farm Safety Week, Signal has asked me to remind you. Each year, injuries disable 1 out of every 18 farm residents and cost our country $1 billion. So on peaceful western farms, just as in the city, it pays to be careful, always. Featured in tonight's story were Wally Mayer, Virginia Gregg, Herbert Rawlinson, Jess Kirkpatrick, and Herbert Litton. The Whistler was produced and directed by George W. Allen, with story by Joel Malone, music by Wilbur Hatch, and was transmitted to our troops overseas by the Armed Forces Radio Service. The Whistler is entirely fictional, and all characters portrayed on The Whistler are also fictional. Any similarity of names or resemblance to persons living or dead is purely coincidental. Remember to tune in at the same time next Sunday when the Signal Oil Company will bring you another strange story by The Whistler, entitled Danger is a Beautiful Blonde, in which a pickup date with a beautiful girl leads a young man to an attractive mansion and a dead man. Marvin Miller speaking for the Signal Oil Company. Stay tuned now for the Horace Heights Show, which follows immediately over most of these stations. This is CBS, the Columbia Broadcasting System.
It's intermission time at the Bah Ghoulie Show. Time to refresh yourself and visit our snack bar. Got a yen for some hot popcorn? How's about your favorite soft drinks, which are sparkling cold? And there's all kinds of candy to tempt you. It's radio time, folks. Enjoy the rest of the program. Hope you're enjoying today's radio program. When it's done, be sure to check out our channel over at Watchwaddle. Enjoy some tunes with a nice cold soda.
Good evening, friends. This is your host to welcome you through the creaking door into the Inner Sanctum. Come in. Come on in and join my wispy white friend. Oh, you're shivering. Cold? Well, don't let it throw you. Just remember that many are cold, but few are frozen. Oh, yes, your sheet is reserved for you. But please don't tear it. Remember the high ghost of living. Now, if you've got some time to kill, let's kill it.
Tonight's Inner Sanctum mystery, The Judas Clock, was written by Frederick Matho and stars Barry Kroger in the role of Sebastian with Lawson Zerbe as Andrew.
Now, all comfortable and tense? Good. Now, I want to warn you, if you feel a pair of thin, cold hands passing over your face, don't be frightened. The hands belong to a clock. A monster called Cleopatra's clock. It's a very unusual clock. For years, it's been giving people the works. The story is really the story of Sebastian Packer. Since this clock can only murder, since it can't talk, we let Sebastian speak for it.
I'm a clockmaker. I carry on the profession my father taught me in London. I like clocks, all that is but one. For 30 years, I've looked for a certain clock and a certain man. The clock is known to collectors as Cleopatra's clock. The man I swore to kill when, as a boy of 14, I closed my father's blazing eyes and wiped the froth of blood from his lips. Last night, I found Cleopatra's clock. Tonight, I may have found the man.
I'm told you're an expert clock repairman, Mr.
Packer, madam. Well, yes, I suppose I am.
Well, I have a clock. Rather, my husband has.
Yes?
And it hasn't run for years. Would you have a look at it?
Well, can't you bring it in?
Oh, heavens, no. It weighs 500 pounds. One of those huge marble things. Italian Renaissance, I'd say.
Marble? Italian? Could you describe it further?
Well, it's rather unusual. Black marble, heavily carved with strange Egyptian characters. The ivory face has a beautifully etched scene on it, but it's a gruesome one.
Gruesome? What kind of scene?
It's a picture of a woman, a beautiful woman, and she's holding the limp form of a young man in her arms. It's ghastly.
Cleopatra's clock. I knew without seeing it why the clock wouldn't run. It had been built in Italy for a prince of the House of Savoy in 1598. He conceived the clock when he discovered that his family treasures included 40 gold coins minted by Cleopatra and an Egyptian parchment. A parchment describing in horrible detail the death by poison of Cleopatra's young brother. The 40 gold coins were those Cleopatra had given a trusted servant to administer the poison to her brother. The writer of the parchment had slain the servant for his treachery and carried the coins with him to Rome. The Cleopatra clock was made to run only when the 40 gold coins were in place in the clock's hollow weights. 20 in each weight. And the coins had been in my possession since the day of my father's death.
Well, Mr. Packer, can you fix it?
What? Oh, sorry. Daydreaming. Yes, of course. Does Mr.
Arnold.
Does Mr. Arnold know that you're having the clock repaired?
No, we've only been married a few weeks, and I'd like to have it working when he comes back to town tomorrow. Sort of a surprise.
I see. I'll be there in half an hour, Mrs. Arnold. So last night I went to the Arnold house, and I found Cleopatra's clock again. It's 6 feet of black marble, glistening. Its pendulum, motionless. Its hollow weights, empty. And waiting. I started to work. Foghorns from the East River sounded much as I remembered they did in London. And suddenly I was back there on a fateful day about a fortnight after the clock had first been uncrated by my father. I was in the shop when the man from Scotland Yard stepped in. He walked straight to the clock and stared at it.
Good afternoon, sir. Does the clock interest you?
Very much. When did you acquire it?
A cousin bought it at auction in Italy, and I'm displaying it for sale on consignment.
My name's Pettibone, Scotland Yard. I've been looking for this clock for a month. It was stolen in Italy.
Stolen?
Yes, Mr. Packer, and worse. Murder was done. I'm afraid you've involved yourself in a bit of something here.
Murder?
I'm taking possession of the clock in the name of the Crown.
I shall never forget the look of horror on the detective's face as he laid his hand on the clock's carved column. It froze there while his face drained to pasty white and his eyes bulged. He opened and closed his mouth soundlessly and crumpled to the floor, his hands to his throat. He was still and twisted and very dead. Mr. Pettibone had died of a heart attack the moment he took possession of the clock. My father wanted time to think, so I helped him drag Pettibone into the stockroom. I went to my quarters. I dozed fitfully to awake hours later at the sound of angry voices.
Well, Cousin Andrew, you've done me a fine turn, haven't you?
I've told you I didn't mean to kill the old girl. It was an accident. And don't talk so loud. The boy will hear us.
You killed her as soon as you learned that she'd made out a will in your favor. And then when you thought it was safe, you sold all her furnishings and sent the clock to me to sell.
All right, I did. And you're in it to the ears.
I'll go to the police.
And how will you explain poor stiff Mr. Pettibone lying in your stockroom all this while?
Well,
Besides, there's nothing to fear. Now that Pettibone is gone. He was the only one who suspected me. Now, you're the only one who knows.
I'll crate this cursed black monster tomorrow, and you leave with it.
And will you also crate Mr. Pettibone?
Oh.
Look, I have a plan. Here, sit down in this chair, right here. And I'll show you how we can solve the whole thing.
My young heart beat with a wild dread as I listened. I could only see Cousin Andrew's back. But I could see Father, seated dejectedly in the chair near the black marble clock, his head in his hands. It was midnight. All the clocks in the shop began striking the hour. And louder than all the rest was the chime of the evil clock. If only then I'd known, I might have done something. 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. And before my horrified eyes, the heavy marble piece leaned slowly from the wall and crashed across my father's back. Cousin Andrew stood facing my father as the clock pinned his frail form in the crushed chair. It choked him. He made little, pitiful sounds, his eyes begging for life. But my cousin Andrew just stood his back to me and watched.
Wandering sinners, you die hard.
Then Cousin Andrew ran from the shop, crying for help and claim an accident. I raced into the shop. My father was dead. I choked back my tears and closed his poor, staring eyes. Then, for some reason, I thought of the coins in the clock's weights. I took them and I ran from the shop, the blood-stained gold pieces jangling merrily in my pocket. Armed with the notion that the coins were of value and the definite notion that I must eat, I approached one of the many dingy little curio shops in the Limehouse district. I stepped through the fog toward a shop where a dim light burned in the rear. Every inch of wall and ceiling was hung with curios, old armor, swords, shields. I would have run out, but a wizened, apish man barked at me from the rear.
Well, what do you want?
I have something to sell.
What have you got?
I have 40 gold pieces, sir. They're supposed to have been the coins Cleopatra paid a servant to poison her brother.
I twist the scrawny neck off of you. You're pulling my leg, eh?
Oh, no, sir, I'm not pulling your leg, sir. Here they are.
Blimey. Gold, right enough. Where did you cop them?
I didn't steal them. They belonged to my father.
Oh, it's a likely tale.
Will you buy them, sir?
Buy them, he says. Buy them. You get out of here before I cause a bobber, you scamp. Go on, now get out.
Give me back my coins.
Get out or I'll come about and fetch you a sound one.
The ugly brute came toward me. He held my coins clutched in a tight, hairy fist. Before I could move, he'd struck me the wall with a clatter. And then it happened. As I hit the wall, my eye caught a metallic gleam above me. I leaped back instinctively. As the hairy arm thrust at me again, a heavy metallic object dropped from the ceiling. It struck across the forearm of the clenched fist. I stared first at the man's gaping mouth, then at the great bleeding gash in the arm he clutched with his other hand, at the blood that dripped on the object that had struck him. It was an ancient headsman's axe. The gaping mouth opened and closed, making no sound. And then, with a moan of horror, the pawnbroker crumpled to the floor. I clamped my mouth upon a cry of panic. I stooped to gather all the coins that had fallen from the man's hand. Blood made them slippery. Thrusting them into my pocket, I stumbled, whimpering in fright, through the shop and into the night. The fog of London never swallowed a more frightened and a more lonely boy. I hadn't touched those horrible coins since the day the storekeeper's wrist had been cut by the falling headsman's axe. By now, I half believed the legend that evil followed them. I began to feel that the only way I could escape their curse was to find the Cleopatra clock and put the coins back in the hollow weights where they belonged. One day, as I read the notices in the Times, my heart skipped a beat. Auction of clocks at Chopin Place auction rooms, Saturday at 7. Rare items, one of them, fine Italian Renaissance piece of black marble. Rare treat for collectors. Come early. I went early. I was the auction room's first visitor. At the rear of the shop, a balding, dim-lit-eyed man looked up, appraised me as poor in prospects, and turned back to his paper. I felt the 40 gold coins in my pocket as I sauntered casually towards the black, gleaming clock. Other clocks about were ticking. Only the pendulum of the Egyptian clock remained motionless. As I cautiously opened the glass door of the clock to reach for the hollow weights, I seemed to hear my father's words again.
It's an evil clock, son. Evil as Satan himself.
I reached for one of the weights, my intention being to unscrew the cap of the weight quickly and to replace the coin. But I saw something I'd never noticed before. Directly beneath the right-hand weight was a small, round, flat bit of metal set into the floor of the pendulum box. It startled me. I looked over my shoulder towards the man in the rear. He was watching me. I had the unhooked weight in my hand within the clock. I'd have to work fast now to replace the coins. My fingers were sweaty with excitement. The weight slipped. It fell directly on the metal piece beneath it.
I say, what are you doing there? Leave at me!
I paid no attention to the man now coming toward me, because something was happening within the clock. A whirring sound of wheels turning perhaps. And then in open-mouthed wonder, I watched the supporting panel in the front of the clock suddenly start to rise on hinges. The clock was off balance. The clock moved forward ponderously, and I stood there transfixed in the path of a black marble monster.
It's falling! Look out, you idiot!
I jumped to one side.
Idiot!
Waited for no more. I ran for the street.
Help! Thief!
The coins jangled merrily in my pocket as before. I was where I had started, only as I ran, I knew. My father had been murdered, and I knew how. And I knew who had done it. I walked for miles, trying to pull myself together. I wandered aimlessly, or so I thought. But fate had traced my path before me, because I was startled to find myself staring into the shop window of a rare coin dealer named Megaroyd. I walked into the shop. Mr. Megaroyd seemed a nice little man. He smiled a bit quizzically at my firm belief that I possessed the betrayal coins of Cleopatra. I poured them on his counter.
Oh, I say, you could be right, you know. These are the right era. Oh, I say, suppose they were. Let me put a glass to them.
Would they be worth a great deal, even if they weren't?
Well, let me see. Oh, yes, gracious, yes, they are nearly new. Fine condition. They should be worth a great deal as collector's items.
Well, Mr. Megaroyd, I feel there's something I ought to tell you about these pieces.
Yes?
It's not important.
Oh, well, now, just a moment. I have a catalogue on this Egyptian era in my show window. I'll fetch it just a jiffy.
The coins lay on the counter. I watched Mr. Megaroyd run down the aisle. As he approached the display window, his foot caught in an electric wire which lay across the floor. The lights went out, and I saw him pitch forward. Mr. Megaroyd! The street light peered through the broken plate glass and made across a grotesquely sprawled form in the shop window. I needed no more light than there was to see what had happened. The upper half of the heavy plate glass had broken and dropped flat against the solid lower half. Mr. Megaroyd lay as the pawn shopkeeper had, holding with one hand the bleeding forearm he had pushed through his plate glass window as he tripped. The gold coins were on the floor, covered with blood once again. And tonight, I will find out if Mr. Arnold is Cousin Andrew. If he is, I shall feel no remorse in killing him. While working to repair the clock last night, I discovered that my father's accidental death had been a well-conceived, diabolical murder. If the right-hand weight was heavier than normal, thus reached the floor of the clock on the 12th stroke of midnight. It tripped a trigger, which collapsed the base of the clock and caused it to fall forward. My father had died on the 12th stroke of midnight.
Have you finished, Mr. Parker?
No, Mrs. Arnold. I'll have to come back tomorrow night. What time do you expect Mr. Arnold tomorrow?
Oh, about 11, I'd say. Will you be finished by then?
Well, I think so. I'll have to take these weights to the shop with me, though. Something has to be added. I've put the coins in their place within the weights. Not 20 in each weight, but 20 in one and 10 in the other. The other 10 coins are in my pocket. In another pocket, I have a small 38, although I don't plan to use it. I have a 30-year-old date to keep.
Think you'll have it fixed in time to strike midnight?
Oh, yes, Mr. Arnold. It will strike at midnight. There we are. Weights are in place now. And let's see, it's exactly 5 minutes before midnight. We set the hands, and then just a little show on the pendulum. So, and Cleopatra's clock ticks again.
It wakes from a 30-year sleep, eh? Cousin Sebastian?
Cousin?
Well, that's what I wanted to tell you. My wife told me your father owned this clock in London.
Yes.
Then I was your father's cousin. So you are Sebastian Packer, the little boy who ran away that night.
And you are Cousin Andrew.
Yes, yes. But seriously, I don't know how much you know of that horrible night when your father was killed.
I know the clock fell on Father. I heard the sound from my room. I was frightened. I came down the stairs later, in time to see them carry Father away. He was all covered up.
So that was why I didn't find you in your room afterward. It happened so fast.
Yes.
We were sitting, talking. The clocks in the store were striking 12. Suddenly, the base of Cleopatra's clock seemed to cave in, and...
I know.
I bought the clock at an auction a few years later. Sentimental, I guess. Yeah. Had it all fixed. It's good and solid now. I saw to that.
Yes. Well, I think I'd better run along now, Cousin Andrew.
Oh, nonsense. Let's make up for lost time and get acquainted.
Well...
Come now. I have some fine old port from England here. Sit down a while. No, not that chair. This one's a lot more comfortable.
Oh, very well. It's a funny thing when you work with clocks as long as I have. You get to be quite philosophical about time.
Oh, is that so? How?
Well, here I sit by the big clock, just as my father said 30 years ago. Do you know how many seconds ago that was, Cousin Andrew?
No, do you?
Well, there are 350,360,000 seconds in 10 years. That would be 946,080,000 seconds in 30 years.
You've got quite a mechanical mind, Sebastian. Here, try this port here.
Okay. Here's for Father. What's the matter, Cousin Andrew? Are you ill?
No.
Your face is drawn and gray.
Shut up.
Cousin Andrew, it's late. It's after midnight. Better go. I say, you do look awfully ill. Not that I don't care.
Thundering sinners. Where are you going? Don't go.
I must go, Cousin Andrew. I told the patrolman near my shop that I would like him to meet me at 20 after midnight.
The patrolman?
Yes. But here, sit down and relax. Take my chair. It's more comfortable. Well, you're shaking like a leaf. You just sit quietly. I'll see myself out.
Thundering sinners.
Good night, Cousin Andrew.
Sebastian! Get it out! Get the clock off me!
You die hard, too, don't you? It was just a matter of timing. I set the hand a minute fast, and the weight didn't touch your clever little spring device till just now because it's lighter by 10 pieces of blood-stained gold from the coffers of another murderer, Cleopatra. Rest easy, Father.
And a fine chime was had by all. Gotta leave you now, folks, with a timely moral. You can figure out how long you've lived, sure. That's your pastime. But figuring out how long you're going to live, that's just any old time. Oh, yes, by the way, this story should teach you another lesson. Never complain when you have to work late. Remember that overtime is certainly better than undertime.
Inner Sanctum was heard in the United States over CBS, the Columbia Broadcasting System, and has been rebroadcast for servicemen and women overseas. This is the United States Armed Forces Radio Service, the voice of information and education.
Thanks for watching the Bah Ghoulie Show by OTR Halloween Holidays. This is Waddle the Duck saying check out Channel Watchwaddle for some fun cartoons with no static.